in the next chapter of real estate, marketing doesn't support growth, it is growth.
Welcome to Let's Do This by Smartify, a podcast for exploring the future of outdoor and retail media. Each episode brings together voices from advertising, real estate, technology, and brand marketing to explore how digital out-of-home and retail media are reshaping the way we connect with audiences in the real world. From storefront to kiosk, we'll dig into strategies, trends, and stories at the intersection of place-based media and digital innovation.
Hi, I'm Debbie Williams. I'm the SVP of Marketing at Smartify. I am thrilled to be talking to Lauren Henss and Jeff Kennedy today. Lauren, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm the VP of Marketing at First Team Real Estate. I oversee marketing, expansion, growth, and overall product.
My name is Jeff Kennedy. I'm the founder, CEO of Mavericks. We are a global advisory firm. We work with cool companies like Smartify and great brokerages like First Team.
Thanks to both of you for joining us today. Jeff, I'm going to throw it over to you to kick off the conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. I really appreciate you putting this together too. So I feel like it's 2026, and I feel like marketing in general has never been more interesting. Marketing is specifically around real estate. I hear from a lot of people that are in that space, and they're being asked to do more with less. And I guess I'd like to start a conversation around what needs to change in 2026. Like, the advertising from 2010 won't work, and honestly, the advertising from 2025 won't work. So, what are some things that your average or above average marketing person can learn today on this? They'll help them be better at their job and create better results.
All right, I'm gonna go first on this. But what I think is marketing in terms of one simple thing: if you put your customer in the heart of the story, it makes everything easier. Marketing is not about you as the brokerage. It is not about you. It is about creating meaningful brand experiences for your customer. And I think we've lost that in real estate about who's it really for. We tout that we have been in business for 100 years. They don't care. So give them basically the different experiences that they want in real time and make sure that it's tailored for them. I think that's the other thing. I think the other thing that everybody can learn from is marketing should absolutely, if you are heading up marketing should absolutely be a revenue driver. Marketing should have a seat at the table, and it's no longer about doing the flyers and those kinds of things. That is part of the brand creation, but you have to build a very strong brand by meeting consumers where they're at and your customers where they're at in order to drive performance and revenue. But marketing should absolutely be tied to revenue for brokerages. I think that's an important component.
That's interesting. I feel like we should parse those out because they need to be discussed separately, right? One is client experiences. It's not about you. And then the other one is the monetization of it and it being a revenue driver. So let's, if we can, just focus mostly on the client experiences part of it. Yeah. Most of the people that I know that do marketing, and I'm going to talk in general, so don't get offended. They're an agent. It'll be, maybe a door hanger or a flyer, or they have, a website to let everybody know they just got a listing or they just sold a listing. But to your point, all of those things are really about them, and it really isn't about the customer experience. It's really just them telling other people about what they're doing. Mm-hmm. How do you, this is for both of you, how do you pivot from that? If that's how you've done stuff, and now all of a sudden you're like, yeah, all of a sudden my marketing is not hitting like it used to. But how do you go from A to B? Like, what's the transition?
Debbie, do you want to start on that?
Yeah, I think to your point, Lauren, about, it's not about them. And I think that's starting at that basic foundation in terms of who you are, determining those key brand positioning points about who the company is and who you're trying to reach. What do you want them to know about you, right? Years and years now, and many years of my career in marketing, that was one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of companies made, even when it came to their website. It was all about them, all about their, their features, their services, why they're the best. But customers want to know what's in it for them. They want to know why they should trust you because, right, this is a huge personal transaction that they're about to undertake. They want to work with someone they can trust, who has their best interest in mind. So every real estate organization needs to know why they're in this and who are they in it for, and what is important to those people, and approach everything they say and everything they do with that message in mind.
I think it's the other thing of who you're not for. So I think it's important, whether you're a brokerage or you're an agent, to attract the right people and repel the many. And I often say this because if you're out there as a brand and you're trying to attract everybody, you're for everybody, then you're diluting your brand because you're for no one at the end of the day. If you're for everyone, you're for no one. And I think, like you said, Debbie, like when you look at legacy brands that don't evolve, like there's a big difference between a legacy brand and a modern brand. And this is why, whether you're a brokerage or an agent, you have to evolve to be a modern brand. Because if you're a legacy brand, you have longevity and you have reputation, right? I don't care at the end of the day. If you're a modern brand, you have meaning, you have identity, you have values, you have messaging that resonates with that particular customer. So while being known gets you on the list, being understood actually gets you chosen. And I think that's the important thing. So you cannot market to everybody the same way. So if I'm sitting here, and I tell this to agents all the time, for example, what is your unique value proposition and why do I care? They sit here and they come back to me and they say, I have white glove service. Great. So does everybody else. Okay. Everybody can say that. But if I can get you to niche down a little bit and be like, okay, I specialize in tech founders that have 10 million to go buy on a house in Laguna Beach and, X, Y, and Z, then that's your niche and that's what you specialize in. And let's double down on that. But I think everybody makes the mistake of, I want to be everything to everybody. And one, you can't do that well. And two, you can't compete well. So who do you really want to be? And why should I care? Because you've got 4 seconds to prove that to anybody.
So it feels like the first step would be, if you're wherever you're at, you've been doing whatever you've been doing, but you are starting to realize that there's another better way to market. The first step would be being really, really honest with yourself on who you are, who you're for, who you're not. And also there's a part of this that is, it's emotional. The best advertisements I've seen, the best marketing that I've seen, movies that I watch, music that I listen to, I do it because it evokes an emotion out of me. If it's neutral, it's just information. And there's so much information everywhere that doesn't move the dial. So I want it to be emotional. Now that emotion could be aspirational. You're looking at Pinterest and wishing your kitchen looked like that. It could be feeling safe, feeling loved, being excited. There's lots of triggers and levers you can pull, right? But I think if you're not doing that and you're just giving information, just listed, that's promoting something, and there's value to that, but it's not true marketing. No. So if you're really honest with yourself on where you're at, who you're for, who you're not for, and you want to tie marketing emotion through that, how do you take that and come out with like a finished product? Is there a secret to that, or is there something? How can people use that and walk away with something they can use tomorrow?
I literally think about it because marketing should not feel like marketing. If it's the best marketing, it doesn't feel like marketing, right? So I'm asking them, how do they add value? So once you identify who that audience is, what are you creating in terms of content that adds value, right? So let me just give you an example. We had a luxury agent last week that wanted to break in a new farm with estate attorneys, okay? And so what we did is we came up with a content series that was literally these 1-minute video series that he put out on YouTube, talking about best practices for how to work with real estate and choosing real estate agents for estate attorneys to represent your clients, right? That was one thing that we did. We also went in and created these curated, moments where they had lunch and learns. We did these curated moments where he did funny videos of what not to do. What I will say that really, really works is what not to do. and creating FOMO. That has worked better for me than anybody else, because if you think about it, I mean, think about like equating this and losing weight. Do you want to know 25 things that you can't eat in a week? Like, or 25 things that you can eat in a week and they'll only be on this list? Or do you want to know 3 things that you can't eat in a week, and you could still lose weight and have a martini on Saturday? Which one do you want to do? So I think it's making it shorter and giving them FOMO, and being relevant with relevant content in the way that they want to get them in those experiences.
What marketing isn't, obviously, is flyers, just collateral. Like, we
No.
know that there's more, it's a deeper, more intrinsic piece of it. And I know that in the real estate space, at least in my experience, there are outliers out there. Marketing is seen internally by leadership as a cost center. You have one person, maybe a VP, and then a couple of directors or managers, and some people that actually do the work. And sure, agents come with requests and they process the requests and give them a flyer, but you can't really draw direct ROI to it. So when they're trying to cinch their belt, sometimes budget gets cut from marketing because that's an easy place to cut on the P&L. But I feel like there's a new generation of marketing people that are coming out right now, or are out, that are kind of flipping that paradigm on its head, and it's now being seen more as a revenue provider versus a cost center. Are you guys experiencing that as well? Do you see that?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. So we have agent marketing, which is the fulfillment and the strategy for agents broken out. And then we have brand and performance marketing on the other side, which falls under corporate, where I lead. So marketing is 100% driven to revenue. So I'm in charge of pipeline. So last year we had a $1 billion goal. I work with Anna and Michelle, and I work with them basically to come up with the strategic goals to make sure that that pipeline is filled for recruitment and that we're going to recruit. So my name is on that number, right? In terms of where it is. So I'm looking at marketing from a strategic growth driver for the overall business versus just getting brand and getting some, social media posts out there. So everything that I do, every campaign that I have to do, is based on overall growth and hitting the growth drivers and the expansion of that business. And I am tied to that number.
Would you agree with the statement, if marketing isn't driving revenue, then it's no longer marketing, it's overhead? Like, it has to drive revenue to justify
Marketing absolutely has to drive revenue, 100%, because otherwise it's fulfillment.
And how do you draw the line? How do you attribute business directly to that? Because you do marketing over here, gave them a flyer, did an open house thing, whatever. Maybe down 2 things removed, they got the client, but everyone wants credit for it. How do you make sure that marketing gets the credit for it?
So we have multi-attribution journeys. So I have like 7 different personas that I go after for marketing. So I'm putting them in all these personalized journeys where I'm tracking every single interaction, because it's a long tail journey. If I'm tying it to recruitment, that recruitment journey could be 3 months. It could be a year and a half to recruiting, depending on what type of agent I'm doing it, right? And that is all tied to that. So I'm tying the ROI and the customer acquisition costs to that. But my goal is, like, for a top agent, let me give you an example. The average acquisition cost is $1,500. Right? If I can get that, which to be $465, and convert them in less time and hit their goals, that's great. But I am not going to sit here. Nobody can sit here and say anymore that based on, that lead came from Meta. No. Where do most of our conversions come from? Most of our conversions come from podcasts that we've been on, events that we've held, in terms of dinners that we've hosted. The lead may come in through Meta initially, but there's 8 different touch points that you have to get before a lead even remotely converts into a meeting with you. It's a much longer conversion life cycle.
Such an evolution of the real estate marketing space. I mean, this is not how things were looked at a decade ago. So it's really refreshing that there's a new way of thinking.
Yeah. Because we're running it like a full-end agency model, right? In terms of demand gen and everything like that. It's a full growth model.
And where would you say, this is for either of you, I'm not sure who would be best to answer it, but like, where do most brokerages struggle? I mean, I feel like where this main struggle is everything. I'd love to say that everyone just works because they love to work, but this is usually a for-profit business. And
Well,
so,
if you're built the right way, so if you're built the right way and you're making sure that your return on advertising spend is 5 to 1, so every dollar you put in, you get $5 back, right? Which is what it should be. If you're measuring correctly and you're hiring the right people and getting the right teams on the bus, then you're good. I think what happens is what they don't understand is you have to build the brand, the house that people want to go to, and your brand is constantly evolving. And it needs to be a place where agents want to come to. It is innovative. It provides them people that they want to learn from, and they can close more deals in less time, right? That's from the agent part. But from a marketing standpoint, when you look at every other industry, marketing and sales, customer success, product, R&D, C-suite are all intertwined. And the biggest difference that real estate does not understand is that marketing has to have a seat at the executive table because they need to know what levers to push or pull to get those goals. You can't have sales without marketing. You can't have marketing without sales. It's the same thing. But you have to have the right team to deliver it at the same time and make sure everybody knows when they're catching the ball and when they're delivering. And that took 4 of us who have been in real estate, but have also come from very different industries as well, and bringing that methodology in here because we also run like a SaaS in terms of KPIs and OKRs. And I make sure that my agent sentiment score is 90%. I make sure that my adoption score is 70% or higher across all platforms. We take the best of it, and that's what we built.
I just thought of something that we talked about the other day, Lauren, and that, about the mistakes that the brokerages make, and that, the rule, like we joked, is good, fast, and cheap. You can only have 2, right? I remember that from the other day. It's true, right? So a lot of times I think they're looking for cheap reach. They're relying too heavily on certain channels, which until recently were effective, like paid social and paid search. But I think due to, I know a topic near and dear to your heart too, AI, that has all changed completely. You can no longer rely on certain channels only that often exist in these walled gardens, right? Like if you're in Meta, you're only in Meta. You're hoping people are there. You're buying eyeballs. It can't be proven. Those conversion metrics just aren't as accurate anymore either. So they need to look at a bigger, more comprehensive plan for how to reach people. And I think that part of that is in the real world too, right? Like you have now are being a part of digital out of home, which is what Smartify does. But think about that. You're getting that person, you're following them throughout the day. You're seeing them in an office. They can see your message in a coffee shop. They're seeing your name. They're recognizing your face. It's not just flyers. It's not just on social media channels. It's in real life. And that's where trust is built.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point because the media mix is changing because because you're not going to have one conversion point, right? So I have 8 different things in my media mix right now. But when you look at digital out of home and what we've done with you, which is fantastic, is it's fast, it's easy, and the amount of people that we can reach with the targeted messages that we want to in a very, very targeted amount of time is unbelievable. And if it's not working, then it's agile and we switch it out very, very quickly. But it's been very successful in that way in terms of return on investment.
As a non-marketing genius, not a non-marketing professional, but I am a consumer of marketing because we all are.
Yeah.
I can smell a paid ad a mile away. I don't care if it's something I really need and want. If it's a paid advertising, sometimes I don't pay attention just because I can tell that it says sponsored or whatever, right? So I would imagine those conversion rates are really low. You know what I do like? I do like authentic, raw, funny, preferably, interesting content, right? That organic presence, that organic earned media, thought leadership, stuff like that, I think is where what really hits right now. It's why influencers have been blowing up. But even influencers are now starting to be seen as more pay to play. So now it's the influencers, people that don't even want to be influencers, but just like, I open this thing up on a video and people like to watch me talk about it, but I'm not really getting paid. Like that kind of stuff is what I'm drawn to. Are you seeing that in your space as well?
Yeah, I mean, we did this, like we do user generated content all the time. And I think we even compared it with like our corporate messaging and then our agents messaging, because our agents are our influencers, right? Which is behind the agent, which is running all over the Smartify screens right now. And it performs better than corporate messaging 5-1, because they want to see people that they relate to. They want to see people that they want to be. They want authentic stories. And it's all about storytelling. At the end of the day, when we look at marketing, it's all about authentic storytelling versus ads and people being pushed in our face. Because like, I think Debbie, like, what did we say? Like 38,000 messages are advertised in our head, like a day, right? That are pushed on us, whether that's notifications, whether that's phones, whatever. So as marketers and advertisers, we're competing for space in your brain.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're doing. And when everything out there from a marketing place sometimes feels like a lie, genuine content from people that you trust and respect performs better, which is why when we partnered with Smartify and we did all this, behind the agent, we ran those. That's why it's worked so well, because it is authentic versus being pushed in your face.
So interesting. So you would say your attention is the currency everyone is fighting.
100% your attention. Like we're paying lots of money for that currency.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think it's time for 6 red flags when choosing a brokerage strategy. I don't know if you guys are prepared for this or not. There's probably more than 6. It just felt like a random number I just chose. What are 6 red flags that you should be careful of when you are a brokerage and in marketing?
One of the things, again, we've talked about this too, about measuring success by impressions alone. And I think that happened a lot, whether you're looking at, traditional old school as it was PR, or you're looking at paid social ads, you're looking at website traffic, you're looking at, digital out of home. It's not impression alone. Yes, just because they see you. And like we said before, it takes someone seeing a message at least 8 times. 8 to 10 is really the sweet spot in terms of making an impression and inciting someone to take action. So success is not impressions alone. It has to be full funnel across channels and related to overall lift of your goals. It's often hard to track last attribution as it is. You used to be able to do that from social. You used to be able to do that from, click to cart, as they say, even though this is a different, it could be click to call or click to form. But it's, they've likely seen your face, your name, your brand, maybe a dozen times before taking that action.
Love that. We call those vanity metrics.
Yes.
Looks great. I saw a million impressions, 0 sales. 1 million impressions. Great. Good job. That didn't really move it down.
So 1 million eyeballs saw this. Where's the action, right?
Okay. You got a second red flag, Lauren?
I was just going to add to that, cost per lead is crap if it doesn't convert. I have so many people who sit here and tell me it's the lowest cost per lead. I'm like, I don't care as long as if it doesn't convert, it doesn't mean anything. Right. The other part that I would say is you need to constantly A/B test stuff. Gone are the day, if you're going to run ads, if we're doing meta and all those kinds of things, gone are the day that you're going to, go do a crazy photo shoot and have them up for 4 weeks. No, I can literally build 90 different versions of ads, ad creatives and ad creative AI in an hour. Yep. So I think, you really need to test and you need to see, and you need to come up with micro forms of content across platforms very easily to resonate and be the authority. I think the other thing that people need to understand is it takes 2 years to build a brand and 2 minutes to take it down. And I think that's a misconception. You are the brand. You are your brand. And it's a sum total of experiences one has with you. It's not just your marketing campaign. It's you. At the end of the day, do I trust you? Do I want to buy with you? Do I want to be associated with you? Do I want to work with you?
A lot of businesses, in real estate and across, general industries across the board.
Yeah.
They are afraid to focus on brand because they see that as an expense because it's not delivering quick ROI, but
Takes a while.
long-term value, and that's irreplaceable. You can, up your spend, you can, do some quick tactics in the short term, but that's not delivering, long-term growth and success and trust.
So we've
Yeah.
got,
And if you
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Of
No,
the
go
6 red flags, we've got vanity metrics, impressions are not all they're cracked up to be. Make sure you A/B test in the market, and that it takes a long time to build brand and very quickly to lose it. What are the other 3 red flags that we need to share with our
Spray
viewers?
and pray. If you are spraying and praying, your audience is the same way. You're giving everybody the same message and the same experience.
Yep.
You're in trouble. You have to do hyper personalization.
Love
and
that.
you have to know who your ideal customer profile is. And there's normally, and what those personas are, like I have 7, for example, but I give those personal tailored journeys completely differently than I would to anybody else. And I'm constantly changing those journeys. So you can't sit here and be like, we're for everyone and give everybody the same message.
And going off of that to the 5th red flag, I feel like it's easy when you're a legacy brand to rest on that because you can be the number 1 in your market. You can be the number 1 agent. You can be a top 15%, whatever you do to make you feel like you take your foot off the gas pedal. And I think that that can be a dangerous place. There is some group that is looking to take market share from you right now. So the minute you take your eye off the prize and take your foot off the gas pedal, you're giving them a crack in the door to kind of come in and take that. You take a company like sometimes that means reinventing yourself, not reinventing yourself completely, but like a little pivot, a refresh of the brand, now we're doing this. Like there's always something extra. You can't just be like static for too long or people will lose interest. You want to be true to who your brand is. I'm not trying to change that, but there are little ways that you can keep it fresh. And I think that's another red flag.
No, I mean, and that's a huge part, which you just said, because legacy brands, like we're changing stuff every week. I mean, we are a constant content marketing engine, but that's the biggest misconception is you have a legacy brand. They're known, great. But this is why brokerages have to be into a modern brand that's actually understood versus known.
Yeah.
And adopted and respected and loved. And that's what you need to be.
And I saved the 6 red flag. Maybe I should have picked 3, but I picked 6. That's where we're at. The 6th red flag is treating your marketing department like it's a graphic design department. Yes, they can do graphic design. There is so much more that can be done from a marketing department than just creating flyers and changing the price around and different pictures of houses. There's so much more.
And that's not marketing. That's fulfillment at the end of the day. That's not marketing.
Which is important. We're not downing that.
No, we're not doubting that. But that is not what true marketing is. At the end of the day, that's a production.
Yep. All right.
And
so now
that ties back to the original key point of marketing being a growth engine and not a cost center.
Strategic revenue driver. Yeah.
Right.
So now if we can tie this up in a little bow, Smartify is the leader in the digital out-of-home space. And the reason I chose to work with Smartify is that when I actually sat down and saw what they're doing and saw their game plan for the future and how successful they are and the impact they can make with brokerages and in marketing in general, I got excited. It was an easy decision for me. Since Lauren, you're an actual client, and Debbie, since you run marketing for Smartify, talk to me about the positioning. Why digital out of home? Right, that's the first question. What is this thing? And the second one right behind it is, okay, now we've established that that's an important thing is happening right now as we speak. Why is Smartify the right solution for digital out of home?
Traditionally displays in offices were used just to put listings, right? Listings were just featured on screens and with people's faces. But Smartify is for real marketers that are growth minded and leadership teams who care about impact. We enable owned premium real world brand moments, just like Lauren is doing on her screens with their Behind the Agent campaign series. There's live video that's completely attracts attention and holds people's attention longer. Even just 65% of consumers look online after seeing an ad that's out of home, right? So it's just one piece that follows people in real life as they're going throughout their day in places they trust, because we have premium locations, content, support, and management of the displays at all times. So when working with Smartify, your content is always going to be premium, look great, and connect with people in real life, in real time.
What I love about digital out of home, DOOH. Do you guys call it DO or do? How do we pronounce it?
I call it do.
Okay,
Do.
so in the do space, if I can say that, the old school way of doing it, to your point, is putting listings. Sometimes they're backlit with light, sometimes not, in the windows. People come by, and that listing could be stale, it could be dark, it could be, no matter what, it's a static picture, right? That compared to what you guys are offering now, where it is dynamic, you can have a QR code, you have the little Instagram type videos that show motion, and again, show motion but drive emotion, right? It would make people stop and pay attention. It like nothing else can do what Smartify can do. Not having a vinyl covering on a bench, not having vinyl covering on a bus, not having the little shopping carts with your name on it saying, call me if you want to list your house. I'm not saying don't do those things. Maybe you can, but they're not going to be as cool. They're not going to be as productive or effective as the Smartify thing. So I think I'm watching and seeing what you created, Lauren, at First Team with Smartify, with taking the campaign you had already built and figuring out how do we omni-channel this and get this out in front of more people, and then taking that and overlaying it on the Smartify product was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, it's really cool to watch. And when we're creating these moments, right, because I'm doing 8 different moments and I'm feeding you in a campaign different touch points. If I look at digital out of home, it has a higher ad recall rate, meaning you can remember seeing the ad. And the marketers, I mean, we tend to want to like stain your brain. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. We want to make sure that we give you micro like dosing moments in stuff that you're going to remember with affinity, and give you those moments in the way that you want to receive them. So to be able to do that across those target audiences in a really great way in which they resonate is huge, because it feels like a soft introduction versus me pushing you across like Spotify with an ad and interrupting your music, for example. Right? Yep. So it's me coming in with a soft entrance that you want to accept versus you being like, wait a minute, you're invading my space. I want to, pay for premium version.
So it's almost opt-in. Like you don't have to look, right?
No.
You said something earlier that was interesting. In the beginning of this webinar, it was that the best marketing doesn't feel and look like marketing. Same thing with sales, by the way. Best sales never feels like you're being sold. It feels like you're having a problem solved, right? Yeah. And so this, and we can't show it because we're on a webinar right now, but the beauty of these screens and how they're executed is flawless. It doesn't feel like marketing. It's dynamic, meaning it can be changed very easily. It's not stuck for 30 days, so you can shift things around. It has video, it has QR codes, all kinds of stuff you can do to it. And it's just there. You can choose to look or choose not to look. And if you do look, it's a small little soft, nuanced touch point. Is that going to make me buy that car, that one look? No, probably not. But when I walk by that every day to work, over time, I'm thinking I want to buy a car, and then I happen to see it online, and I happen to see it at my yoga studio, and then I see an advertisement on TV, and then they send me an email. All those things together make me more likely to be leaning into the brand versus neutral, leaning away from the brand. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is a slam dunk deal. As a matter of fact, we probably should tie this up with what you guys think marketing now owns and what you think is going to close, what top brokerages will or should or are doing. Let's end with that. So what does marketing now own? We talked about a bunch of stuff. Let's bring that all home. Marketing now owns, Lauren, you can go first.
Digital transformation.
Okay. Debbie?
Oh,
Brand.
like brand,
Yeah.
lead gen, content, message, persona,
Love
audience
it.
development,
I wanted,
KPIs,
I wanted to, you gave me
All
12.
of it.
Great. Recruiting, experience, like
recruiting,
market.
Pipeline.
It's
We
so
own.
much wider marketing is than what it used to be. And it's so much deeper that I think if we have one chord through this entire webinar, it's that smart brokerages and smart marketing departments realize their enhanced ability to provide results for that brokerage in lots of different ways. And again, it's no longer the marketing department of even 2015 or 2020. It's a different world. And AI's made things even easier to be able to produce even more amazing things. And tech's a part of that, but you still need human beings involved. So marketing now owns brand, growth, recruitment, experience, all of the stuff that you guys said, digital transformation. And you would say what top brokerages, if I'm a brokerage leader, I'm a CEO of a brokerage with 500 or 1,000 agents, I need to
Give marketing a seat at the executive table. Marketing should be on the executive team.
all right, C-suite table.
Yeah.
I need to probably understand the full journey,
You need to
where we
understand.
are.
You need to work with marketing. So marketing and recruitment are intertwined. I think that's what people don't understand. Marketing, recruitment are intertwined. And they come up with whatever your recruitment goal is, what your growth goal is, expansion goal. And those two departments work backwards to figure out how we're going to deliver on that outcome in partnership with the CEO and what our roles are. And we're tied to those outcomes. My OKRs are tied to that. Anna's OKRs are tied to that. Michelle's, and we're making sure that we're pushing ourselves so it's attainable. It's always a stretch, but we are in lockstep of what that pipeline looks like and what I'm going to do to pull my levers, what she's going to do to pull her levers, because I'm in charge of making sure that based on the demographics and psychographics that I've created, that I'm delivering people that she can convert, that hit the people that we want, right? So I'm making sure that I'm giving her the right leads. I'm making sure that her conversion percentage stays where we need to be.
Yeah.
And we're in charge of hitting that $1 billion goal. And we know exactly what that is.
And part of this is having the right people in the right seats internally.
100%.
Part of this is if you're watching this and you're marketing, like, oh, I don't know how to do that. That's fine. Go find somebody that knows how to do that. Bring them in as a consultancy. Have them share with you their kind of template of how they do stuff. Learn it, and now you're even better. So there is ways out there. We're not trying to displace anybody out of their job. We're trying to help you be even better and stickier. And I'll say what nobody else has said. Top brokerages, top C-suite people, yes, they do all that stuff, see at the table, understand, recruit. You invest accordingly. It's going to take a little bit of money and time and energy to create this. But you know, if it's a 5-to-1 ratio, that all of this is an investment. Because, here it goes, in the next chapter of real estate, marketing doesn't support growth. It is growth.
Just add one more thing to that, marketing is also not just a department. It's not a segment. It needs to be a company mindset that everyone has some sense of responsibility for, because everyone is talking to customers and prospects, clients, people on the street, people people in your community, and everyone needs to have a consistent message and feel some sense of responsibility for getting that message out there.
So my last statement is, if you have not experienced or explored digital out of home, whether you use Smartify or not, that aside for a minute, it is the way of the future. It is the way that big brands, smarter and bigger than you or me, they're doing it. They're spending millions and millions. This is the real thing. You should explore it. Check it out. Once you make the decision that I know you'll make, which is digital out of home is amazing, then I highly encourage you to look at Smartify potentially as a partner, because they are the best in the business and they figured it out. They've got great partners. They've got a great roadmap on how to launch these things with their clients. So I'm excited to be on this webinar, and I appreciate your time today.
You both really appreciate your time. And I know I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Do This by Smartify. To learn more, visit us at smartifymedia.com and follow us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to Let's Do This on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time.